Hey guys, welcome to another episode. This is JR, founder and CEO of Social Market.
And my name's Leon. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Social Market.
Yeah, so this is episode 27 and of Social Ledger Report, and we've actually done a lot this year. If we're looking back, there's what 52 weeks out of a year, and we usually release an episode
I
every
think
week.
so.
So we've pretty much been halfway into our first year. That's amazing.
It
Yeah,
it feels a lot longer, but also looking back, it feels really short. The
it really
logic
does.
of that sounds terrible, but I look at it and I'm like, wow, a lot's been done in a short period, but also, wow, how long does that time feel when it's all condensed down?
Dude, yeah. So before we jump into this, we were actually debugging the app, and there's kind of quite a few errors, but we'll get to that. So in the near future, when we demo the app, it's going to look a little bit more different. Probably next week for episode 28. So just stay tuned for that. But yeah, man. So as far as this week's episode, I actually want to talk to you a little bit more as to why you may want to consider using our app. And this is not going to be like a whole sales episode. It's just more like some interesting things that are happening in the crypto end. Like, did you know that the Balancer protocol had an exploit just this week? And a lot of people lost about over $100 million cumulatively.
Okay, so I saw it a little bit on Twitter where they were talking about what happened. Like,
Okay.
give me the breakdown of it. Other than like, this is all I know is, and I have a note from it is that $100 million was stolen. It was a smart contract, and then something with the DAO that caused problems. I'm probably
Dude,
butchering this.
no, you're fine. First of all, DAOs, which are decentralized autonomous, what is DAO again? I forgot. Let me look it up again.
Um,
Decentralized autonomous organization. That's what it is. Okay, I was gonna say governance, which is essentially what they're trying to do on code or on blockchains. That shit never took off, which I'm kind of interested. I'm kind of surprised it never did. It seemed like the biggest selling point of 2022, but
well, when you let the insane asylum run the hospital, things don't go well. I saw like somebody bought a Wendy's and tried to run it through the DAO, and like essentially the DAO. It's like when anybody asks the internet to name their thing, and all of a
right.
sudden you get the most crazy off the wall like McBoaty face McBoat boat, and you're just like, God damn it! Like the interneted today, and I think the DAOs were just
The internet.
interneting all the time because people were just
Valid.
getting whatever they wanted.
A lot of times it ended up just being vaporware. And some applications, some companies try to build the infrastructure for people to create DAOs, but it just never took off the same as NFTs or meme coins did. And I think a lot of it is just how simple it is to use. So I'm not really that surprised if I think about it, or at least that's just my theory. But anyways, back to the point you asked, what the hell is DeFi, to kind of give you the TLDR sort of thing. So Balancer is a one of the biggest DeFi protocols, believe it or not, and it just got hit. So what happened is hackers took advantage of a rounding error, and what that means is it's kind of like a bug. Excuse me, it's kind of like a smart contract exploit. And essentially, over $100 million disappeared overnight from across different blockchains. It was all laundered through Tornado Cash, which is this famous DeFi tool that makes it so you cannot trace someone's money, which is the whole point of crypto is you can trace people's money, but some people don't like that. It's a bit of an invasion of privacy, but anyways, the money was laundered in Tornado Cash, and the Balancer DAO, which again, it's kind of vaporware, I feel, jumped into crisis mode, and this is what I'm going to read from my note. The Balancer DAO jumped into a crisis mode. It paused the vulnerable pools, offered a 20% bounty if the attackers returned the funds, and even posted an on-chain message, quote unquote, "We'll take legal action if you don't comply," ultimatum. And this kind of ends with Berachain ended up recovering about $12.8 million after a hard fork. But the whole thing reignited the debate around DeFi security, which is basically just, you know, one-time audits are not enough anymore. There's no way for people to recover the money. But I was kind of reading it from my note on the last part because it's kind of a lot to keep up with. But
So they got the hackers, whoever it is, stole 100 to 130 million, and then they only got back like $12 million on that hard fork.
12.8. But yes, that's the essence of it.
Okay, 12. That they got away with a lot of money.
They did.
Okay, so I'm like reading it. It was a 0 day hiding in some obscure protocol. So like they've been audited and like they've been audited, right? Like they had security in place.
Pretty much. So I found this tweet when I was looking more into this story. I don't know if you can see my screen, but this is from TWJ News. It says, Balancer DAO demands return of 100 million stolen in V2 compostable stable pool hack. So that's kind of like the essence of it. And, you know, if you are watching this on YouTube, we'll add the link to the article on the description. But they were able to recover some of it. But, I mean, when it comes to crypto, there's really no safety net, like an FDIC insurance type of safety net if you're investing, if you're holding. And what's interesting is that DeFi protocols, these are enterprises who build these systems. You would think they can insure that, but they don't. So we have
It's
a problem
supposed to be
here.
a trustless finance system too. Like
It really is.
you know, you don't need to trust the middleman. You know, you like before you had to trust like a bank, a broker, a payment processor, all of that. But like these DeFis, you end up trusting auditors, like governance forks, and you know all of that, and then like chain level interventions when things blow up. Like there is no protection, you know, for most right now. Like you lose your money, you lose your money. That's the hard part for people.
Yeah, dude. And I mean, it sucks. It happens all the time. And this is why I tell people, at least with social market, like all it takes is one mistake. You know, all it takes is one fuck up along the way for you to lose all your money. And it sucks because, you know, crypto is the future and I'm a wholehearted believer on it. But, you know, no one's really addressing this gap where it's like, you know, there needs to be a safety net. If you're holding long term, if you're possibly on a ledger or on a cold storage, you know, you're storing for the long term. You want to create generational wealth with Bitcoin. There needs to be some sort of insurance that is accessible or even just coverage. You know, it doesn't have to be insurance. But this is what we're offering. You know, we're offering coverage as a service. You know, you apply with us for less than a Big Mac meal at McDonald's, and you get coverage and peace of mind. So if you want to learn more, you can look more on socialmarket.tech. So if you like what we're talking about, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. It costs you nothing, and it helps us push more of this type of content. So, all right, shameless plugs out of the way, kind of late, but otherwise, let us know what you think on the comments. Yeah, so that's pretty much the essence of the DeFi protocol. I mean, that's as far as we know, as far as what we could find on Twitter. But there's a couple more things that I do want to talk to you, Leon, about. So there was a few development stories on Trump and the pardon of CZ. Have you heard of anything, by the way?
Yeah, so I watched the clip on Twitter and I saw where Trump was like, I don't even know who it is. Like, essentially acknowledging that, like, I looked into it much more. Like, CZ, some claim that he helped terrorist organizations launder money. That was, like, kind of fundamental, like, what happened. It's essentially AML and, like, sanction failures that, like, CZ was convicted on. And then, you know, Trump issued that full pardon, frames it as a fixing over prosecution of crypto. Also, at the same time, like the Trump world is playing with, flirting with a $2 billion like stablecoin deal involving Binance and I don't know, one of their crypto companies. So, like it's very fascinating. Like CZ says they've never met Trump directly, but you know, like he did meet Eric Trump and associates. So more and more that looks like a Trump scratching his own back and not really knowing who is there. It's like a pay for forgiveness sort of thing. And then it's also like systematically, you know, we want people to trust in crypto, and this gives it a little of a hard one where it's like, hey, Binance didn't follow these rules, and some of these rules are here for a fact because a lot of people say Bitcoin's for money laundering, and that's what it's only used for.
Yeah, so well, I mean, there's several use cases with crypto beyond just money laundering, which is what
Yeah, that's
bad
one of the
actors
use
do.
cases.
It really is, unfortunately. Just how the internet has the use case of porn being available and gambling being available, but you can also start a business in this age, which is having internet access. So everything has its pros and cons, is what I'm trying to say. But you mentioned most of what I was going to mention. So the one thing is, and I don't know if you mentioned this, but there is actually a $2 billion business deal with Binance and World Liberty Finance, which we did cover a little bit last week. But you know, based on that, the White House actually came forward this week and said the quote unquote over prosecution is the main reason why ZZ was pardoned, which the president himself said he didn't know anything about it, but the White House and his staff were the ones who came forward and clarified. So I think that's a little fishy there, just because Trump is lying, it seems. But
Yeah.
to his credit, Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr. are the ones who mostly handle the front end or the most of the business side on the Trump enterprise, or you know his whole holdings company, like the real estate, the crypto, everything else. They kind of took over. So Eric Trump actually came forward and said that they actually had a meeting about it. So you know he
There's a
had
little
to
bit of
take a
lie.
little bit for
Like
it.
I think and this is also a narrative. The macro of it is Trump's push to make the U.S. a crypto superpower and roll back enforcements is important. Like it is the right thing. He's using crypto as a geopolitical tool. So private stable coins and then like Bitcoin, or sorry, private stable coins plus Bitcoin end up extending dollar influence to the world. Like
Yes.
they've realized how to make crypto a dollar influence extension to the world. Like that's the reason there.
Yep.
But it is just bringing the question like, is this actually justice, for CZ in the crypto world, or is it a bailout for, a strategically important and useful billionaire at the moment? Like more and more, it looks like a bailout for a strategically important one. And traditionally, the United States hasn't done that. They don't negotiate with terrorists, all those sorts of things.
Yep.
Essentially, Trump said the quiet part out loud. We do negotiate with terrorists. We do negotiate with everybody. We just do it in varying types of ways. And I think this is like important. It also does worry me about like stablecoin centralization more than ever. Like banks and these folks are going to control the stablecoin market more and more, and it's going to centralize harder and harder. And that's going to be an interesting thing because it fundamentally goes against crypto at its core.
It really does. And man, I wish I had the meme with me, but I don't know if you can pull. I don't know if you can find it, Leon. Just on Google crypto memes. But while you're doing that, there's this meme that I like where it shows crypto users just 2014, 2012 time period, and they were all about no government, no governance, borderless payments, the them using crypto because of what it was made to be used early on when the white paper was still widely regarded, and the Bitcoin white paper was widely regarded. Now, a lot of people are on crypto because they like meme coins, they like prediction markets, they like how a coin has a dog face in it and it's gonna go to the moon. That's a lot of what we're seeing right now, which, they say comedy mimics life or resembles life. So I think memes resemble a lot of what's happening in real life as well. I found it. Crypto then. I built a privacy protocol. Cyberpunk bro. Code is law. Disrupt middlemen. That was then. And now, please buy my bags, BlackRock. American DeFi. OMG strategic crypto reserve. Centralized stablecoins are the only use case.
Yeah, this is the more and more of this is happening. Like I sent you the
Oh, yeah.
one today, and I think I sent it the other day. I'll share it real quick.
Yeah, yeah. I love that.
There's a critique of crypto right now that's happening, and from an outsider looking in, it does to some degree look like this. It's like hot take. Crypto has mostly lost the plot. We're promising the future of finance, and what got mostly mostly got was wow.
And I thought I was the ESL here. English
Asymptomatic?
second language.
How do you pronounce that word?
Asymmetric.
Asymmetric.
There.
Bam. Wow. Gambling games. The ironic part is TradeFi sees the value of blockchain and is about to commandeer it all. Thanks, kids. We'll take it from here. Like, I don't know his background.
Delphi
you know, like,
Labs.
I know who they are.
Okay.
But this critique's happening more and more. You know, like Polymarket's a big one. Like, they're betifying everything. You have CZ getting pardoned. It's showing a very like outsider looking in of like, oh, there's just a bunch of crypto bros making a lot of money, gambling it away, making meme coins. Like, this is the wild, wild west of crypto. The same thing happened on the internet in the early days. Like, everybody was like, oh, it's a cesspool. And it really was. Still is a little bit of cesspool. Just a more fun cesspool. And I think crypto's the same way. Like, the game, like, the internet was built off of porn. The internet was built off of gambling. The internet was built off of the skeevy underside of everybody's world. And many times industries often are built off of that. And I think gambling is going to build the crypto, make it really useful, and more industries are going to adopt it. And they just don't, people don't often see the skeevy undersides of what happens. Like, a lot of hosting companies, when they got started early internet, were hosting adult websites. Look, OnlyFans, you know, is making millions and billions of dollars. Like, it's no different than, you know, what happened in the early internet days even. So I'm not too worried. I think the CZ part is like, he's going to have to pay attention now. He's going to have to follow the rules. Because if he wants to play with Trump, he's going to have to look like he's following the rules and complying with everything.
If you're serving the country, and if you're, well, not necessarily the country, but if you're serving people, you need to have their best interests in mind. You know, at least that's what I think when I'm building social market. When I'm building a company, I want to help people. I'm not just here to get rich off of their business, you know. But you mentioned Polymarket. And just to put aside from ZZ, I actually wanted to talk about this, and then I just remembered. Did you know that Polymarket's traffic is mostly fake?
What?
Yeah,
like,
and dude,
utter shock. I hope you got that on my reaction.
So I found on Twitter, and I cannot find the tweet right now, but I'm still calling it Twitter interchangeably with X. But I found a post that said that there were studies by like MIT and such that found out that Polymarket's traffic as of the last quarter and even in the elections quarter of 2024 was actually fake. A lot of it was like fake. And I'm like, okay, that's actually insane. I love Polymarket, so how are they going to diss my boy even more? But no, so it's actually kind of legit. And I say my boy, I sent Shane Copeland because I really admire that guy. Anyways, so I'm going to kind of read this article real quick and kind of give you the genesis of this. So this is from Gizmodo if you're tuning in on audio. It says, study finds around a quarter of Polymarket traders are fake. Surely there's no potential for market manipulation here. And then the first sentence, it says, if you have the over on the beat that over 10% of traders on the predictions market, Polymarket are inauthentic, go ahead and cash that in ticket. I'm not sure what kind of analogy that we're trying to go there.
Yeah, that's a terrible writing, but it's also Gizmodo, so I'm not surprised.
Okay, I don't know shit about them, so you actually have an advantage on me here. So it says, according to a recent study from researchers at Columbia University, as much as 1/4 of all trading volume happening on the platform is artificial trading. The researchers looked at 3 years worth of buying and selling activity on Polymarket because, mind you, they've actually been around since 2020, which allows people to trade the contracts related to real-world events based on the probability of a given outcome. What they found was that about 25% of those contracts were wash trades, which happens when a person or entity buys and sells the same contract to create fake levels of trading volume that can manipulate the market. How about them apples?
I, yeah, that's so. Is it
I'm shocked.
polymarket playing the market, or is it investor or gamblers, investors? What do we want to call them? Playing the
Dude,
market, like
probably people who have some sort of involvement with the company is my guess. But mind you, we're reading this in real time because I haven't read the full story yet. But it says it's important to note that the researchers don't accuse Polymarket of participating in these transactions to artificially create
okay.
apparent interest in an event. But they do suggest that the fact that the platform is using a cryptocurrency stablecoin as its medium of exchange may make these types of transactions easier to trade for execution. Traders to execute, I mean. The researchers developed an algorithm that helped to identify accounts that were only engaging with a small subset of the other accounts. Regularly buying a contract, one of those other accounts was selling or vice versa. They revealed networks of traders who appeared to be performing wash trades that artificially created additional volume and interest where there otherwise was none. So here's the thing. As much as I love Polymarket, I think a lot of insider trading happens there because it's just easy money. If you know stuff like government insider trading happens with stocks, with Nancy Pelosi famously doing that. Um, when you know shit, it's so much easier to make a lot of money, dude. And I think it may not necessarily be Polymarket as the platform who does it, but people who know how to use the platform. People who know how to use insider information to trade stocks are the ones who are profiting, and they're supposed to be representing us. So that's what I think is happening here. But even just because Polymarket did not respond to a request for comment regarding the study's findings, so it's a little bit sus. But also, I know this
Yeah,
could
like
not look good
I
on them.
saw people doing like arbitrages of betting where the odds on Polymarket were different than the odds on Kalshi, so you could bet $1,000 on Como winning, and you would make a significant amount of money, and then you go essentially bet on Mondami winning, like with 10,000, and then you would cover your $1,000 bet.
Yes.
So it's out there, and this is the part is like you can't stop that stuff. Like there's the NBA gambling happening right now with the mafia, which is crazy. But
Yeah, dude.
the hard part is when you start betting on everything that happens. As much as I love it, the bad actors happen. It's just like the reason that the U.S. government deals with a lot of problems is fraud. Like a lot of
Yes.
people are willing to scam systems and play hard games, and it's very very hard to deal with that.
While you're on the topic about all these internal fraud and stuff, a little bit more on what I do on the real world, like my big boy job. So I was actually hired by the Department of Health and I have a security clearance, by the way, not to brag, but which they're hard to obtain. Anyways, so I was hired by the Department of Health to help them build an AI model that can help with different use cases. Among them was to find internal fraud. We found out that I cannot really say a lot here just to not get fired, right, and continue getting paid. But we found out that there was over $100 million being reported of internal fraud with the Department of Health, and I was largely a big contributor to getting that outcome. So based on that, there's some efforts being done right now as we speak to address that. But it's pretty shocking because when you think internally with the Department of Health, with people who apply for Medicare and Medicaid, they would have their shit together. And when I look back more and more in Doge, which there's wide reports about them costing the government more money than to actually save them, I'm kind of thinking like, what are we doing as the richest country in the world to prevent these I don't know what to call them, but what can we do to just prevent these, you know, mediocre kind of attacks, mediocre kind of issues that we're seeing with our country?
I think it's hard. I don't think there's a clean answer. I think the hope in some is stable coins help people track the money and prevent some of that, but also I'm not sure. Like it kind of even takes us to like the convo that we wanted to talk about with FTX
Right.
with man, what is his name? Sam Bankman-Fried. Like,
Yes. There's
he,
more stories
he's
than that.
appeal. Yeah, like he's appealing his 25-year sentence. The judge, he's arguing that a judge was biased and the jury didn't hear his full story. Like
Yes.
the
Before we move there, though,
yeah,
can I just mention one more thing?
yeah,
We're
go
talking
for
about
it.
Mamdani. So here's here's the crux of the issue as well. While Polymarket was not actively involved in manipulating trading volume on its platform, it sure does a lot of work to generate volume via posting bait on social media, which I'm like, dude, when it comes to social media, you gotta sometimes play the devil's advocate and, be as loud, be as attention driven as you can because people's attention span are like goldfish, like, you need to be kind of loud sometimes in order to get their attention, which is good for
Yeah,
business.
I everybody's always critiqued on their social part, but I don't blame Polymarket
Me neither.
for their push on social. I just don't understand because you can't use it in the United States still. So
Unless you have a VPN.
yeah, like you have to use a VPN, like which is circumventing their terms of service. So they should just fucking ban that person.
I agree. Now, on November 4th, as we had the New York mayoral elections with Mamdani winning, the company went all in on trying to gin up buyers and sellers willing to bet on the outcome of the race, posting about how Mamdani was listed twice on the ballot, a thing that is true but not malicious, as right-wing accounts across social media tried to suggest, and saying there was a surge of whales betting on Andrew Cuomo to win while asking, do they know something we don't? That's probably not technically market manipulation, but it's pretty shameless. So I guess they were just lying about like the whole situation because, and I didn't know this, you can actually be listed twice on the ballot because of different categories that you as a candidate are supporting. And I don't remember what Mamdani was listed there for under, but there were other
Yeah,
things that he approved on. But Polymarket came in saying, "Oh, this is actually what's happening," and in a very deceitful way, made it seem like, oh, there was an error, and people who bet money on Cuomo were like, oh no, this guy's not going to be a mayor because, like, Mamdani's not going to be a mayor because there's clear fraud, there's clear issue here, and they're probably going to report it. That was not the case, and Mamdani is now going to be the mayor in January 1st. So yeah,
yeah,
that's
like
what I wanted to cover.
it's very interesting. I think the betification of our world is fascinating right now. I think it's gonna everything swings. It's a pendulum each way. We see it in
Yes,
politics all the time. I think we're going to see this. I think the pendulum is going to swing really hard on betting. It's going to swing back. It's going to normalize, just like the crypto markets. They swing one way. NFTs were a really big thing. Now they're not really. They're more nascent. They're still important, but there you had DAOs swing really hard. Now they're not really important. So I think all of that is out there. So on the FTX part,
yes,
comparative to CZ, like CZ committed crimes, Sam Bankman-Fried, SBF. I
yes,
think objectively committed worse crime financially. He
I
hurt
agree.
individuals, didn't just like hurt a big company, hurt individuals. No victimless crime here, but they're arguing that the judge was biased, the jury didn't hear his full story. He's also angling for a pardon from Trump too, but ooh man, like I really think that this is like something. If anything, if Trump does anything, he shouldn't pardon him. He should just commute his sentence and let him stay a criminal. Kind of like
I
what he
agree.
did with that. That what's the politician from like New Jersey, New York area that just
You're
lied
talking
about
about.
everything.
Can you repeat that one more time?
The lawyer, the politician that just lied about everything in
Oh,
in New Jersey, New
George
York.
Soros? Not
It's not
Soros.
George Soros.
Santos?
Santos, there you go, him. Like, he
Santos.
just commuted his sentence and was just like, yeah, you're a
Okay, yeah.
criminal. Go off and do that.
I don't like that guy. Which I don't know. I think that if you're going to be in a position of power, which happens all the time, and then maybe this is just me being naive, but in my ideals, if you're going to be in this very powerful position and you're going to be using it to take advantage, then you should be a criminal. You should be forever and ever be labeled as a criminal, like in the case of Santos. Because, dude, I mean, did you know that he used some of his campaign money to get OnlyFans? He was gooning at the job, essentially.
He did very bad stuff, and like objectively,
And
he
I'm
should
like,
probably stayed in prison for another year or two.
absolutely,
Trump should have let him sweat it out, but like,
absolutely. And here's the thing: he's not going to win re-election or anything.
I don't even
his
think he
career
can
is forever tainted.
run. Yeah, like
There
I
is
don't even think he
absolute
can
no
run.
value to Trump if pardoning him, unless he is getting a lot of money from Santos. Maybe he is getting access to his OnlyFans account. Is that why Trump pardoned him? I don't think so. Anyways, so on the SBF stuff you were mentioning, there was a. Let me pull up my notes. Yeah, so, well, anyways, you were asking me about SBF, correct?
Yes, just thoughts on it. Like I kind of gave the rundown.
Yes, you did.
Let's see what is going to happen, but he could be pardoned.
So here's the thing. Unlike Santos, SBF actually appealed his 25-year fraud sentence. He was claiming that the judge was biased and blocked key evidence that could have shown that FTX wasn't actually insolvent. The appeals judge didn't seem too sympathetic on that because it's basically saying, hey, dude, you kind of like put me in a bad position because you didn't let me use all the evidence to the judge that didn't approve it in the first place. And then that judge came back and said, nah, shut the fuck up. We're not going to go through with that. So they
Yeah.
basically said solvency doesn't erase fraud and called his blame the lawyer's defense weak. Because that's what he was saying. That was the whole shtick of SBF. However, there is no decision yet, but rumors of a potential Trump pardon are already circulating. So it kind of goes back with the whole Santos thing. His family even dropped a 64-page defense memo right before the hearing saying to sway public opinion. But I don't know if people are so sympathetic on SBF anymore because it is case closed what happened. There was vast amount of evidence which was largely pushed as well by CoffeeZilla on YouTube. He kind
It's
of
popping up again.
What's that?
CoffeeZilla is popping up again for us.
Yeah, I love his investigative work. I think we need more people like that. It sucks that we need people like that to bring justice in a country that is all about justice. If you know what I mean?
Yep.
But I'm not here trying to make it political. Like fuck all that. But I just think it's crazy, dude. Now on the SBF and ZZ stuff, since we were talking about both people, I saw a tweet circle around a while ago that said that hey, if you're basically in Forbes, you're kind of set that you're gonna be a bad entrepreneur or you're gonna fraud people at some point or another. One or the other. I'm paraphrasing. But I want to circle back on this article from Forbes about SBF that came out in 2021. The world's richest 29-year-old just got a lot richer thanks to new FTX funding round. I'm not going to read it all, but this is the original link. If you want to look back and you're watching this on YouTube, you can access the link if you'd like. But this was, the thing that kind of surprised everyone when the lawsuit happened in 2022. So that's from Forbes, and there is, SBF. And I don't know if you know this, but ZZ was also in Forbes. This is way back then. This is from 2018, but it says from zero to crypto billionaire in under a year. Meet the founder of Binance, and there he is.
There's been like a saying, if you're under the Forbes 40 under 40, more than likely you're going to be a criminal or
Yes,
something.
that
It's
one.
just like, honestly, Forbes, like they just, I don't know if it's a curse or if, a lot of rich people do dumb shit.
Have,
But
have you seen
it
Wallace?
is kind of funny.
It is, and I don't want to cut you off, but have you seen Wolf of Wall Street? I love that movie, by the way.
Yeah, it's been a long time, but I have.
I think it was Jordan Belfort. That's his name of the
Yeah.
protagonist, the guy who defrauded everyone. He's still around running scams, by the way. But Jordan Belfort was in Forbes, if I am not mistaken. And
I
there was
wouldn't be
this,
surprised.
yeah, dude. So that kind of tells you everything about. I mean, if we ever make it big, which I hope, and if I'm ever in Forbes, I'm gonna be like, nah. I respectfully decline being on Forbes. I don't
Yeah,
want
I'm
the.
not. I'm not living up to the. This is some final destination stuff with criminal, like
Exactly.
billionaires. Like, like it's funny. Oh, we'll see. Like, I
Yeah,
don't
dude.
believe FTX founder, even though he is crypto related, should be pardoned at all. Maybe
I agree.
there was a over sentencing. I don't know. Like, what did other people that when Enron failed and other companies that committed fraud, failed. What was that other guy that did the Ponzi scheme?
Which one on crypto? Unfortunately, I
No,
hate to
not
say
on the
it, but there's
crypto
several.
one. It was the
Oh, okay.
there was another one. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but he essentially took people's money and screwed everyday investors and stuff. And
There's several.
yeah, like there's been a few, like none of I'm curious to see where their sentence he was compared to SBF. Like, what did he get more years? If they all got 15 years and he got 25 years with similar sort of crimes and convictions, like maybe there is an over sentencing. But again, we got to bring trust to crypto. We're working on
We
that,
are.
and partying these folks without any knowledge of it is it's really hard. If he just says the quiet part out loud and says, we need these folks for being the greatest crypto country in the world, I could get behind that more. I think that's essentially what's happening in a lot of times. I don't think SBF is particularly smart in like a crypto way or something, or needed at the moment. So it'd be interesting to see the outcome of everything.
This is the whole memo about what we're doing. We can't keep letting criminals get away with it, dude. We need to help people and consumers trust crypto more. God damn it.
Yeah, no, 100%. So I find it fascinating. We'll see what happens. I don't know. I think that's
Yeah.
it that we have on this topic, though.
Yeah. So we're gonna try to keep this format for the foreseeable future on our podcast. We're trying to make some of our audiences who have goldfish brains be able to enjoy and like and stay, not to insult you if you're one of them, right? But like we can
But
go
to
off on
insult you.
tangents something, low key. Anyways,
No
we're trying
offense,
to
but I'm
just-
offending you.
absolutely, dude. No, but in all genuinely, we're trying to make this podcast better for everyone, not just for people who can't focus sometimes. So, let us know what you think. If you like this format, let us know. Drop a like if you like it, and if you get offended of what I just said, you can drop a dislike. You have my permission. But yeah, this was episode 27. So thanks so much for watching.